Corruption. It is a word whispered in hushed tones, a stain on the soul of our nation. Like a persistent illness, it has plagued India for far too long, eating away at the fabric of our society. It lurks in the shadows, its tendrils reaching into every corner of our lives. From the highest echelons of power to the humblest of homes, its presence is felt. The Corruption Perceptions Index, a global barometer of sorts, lays bare the harsh reality of India's struggle. It ranks countries based on perceived levels of public sector corruption. In the 2024 index, India finds itself at a dismal 96th position out of 180 countries. Our score, a paltry 38 out of 100, reflects the deep-rooted nature of the problem. This is not a new affliction. For decades, corruption has been a constant companion, hindering our progress and dimming our hopes. We have witnessed firsthand the devastating consequences of this insidious disease. It has eroded trust, fueled inequality, and robbed generations of their rightful opportunities. Yet we must confront this uncomfortable truth. We can no longer afford to turn a blind eye to this cancer that is slowly killing our nation. It is time to acknowledge the severity of the problem and resolve to fight it with unwavering determination. The future of India depends on it. The Corruption Perceptions Index, though imperfect, provides a crucial snapshot of a nation's integrity. It is a stark reminder that corruption is not merely a domestic issue. It is a global scourge that demands a united front. India's ranking and score paint a worrisome picture. A score of 38 signifies that corruption is perceived to be rampant in our public sector. It suggests that bribery, extortion, and abuse of power are commonplace. This perception, sadly, often reflects reality. It impacts everything from the ease of doing business to the delivery of essential services. Moreover, India's score has declined in recent years, indicating a worsening situation. This downward trend should sound alarm bells across the nation. It signifies that the measures taken to combat corruption have been inadequate. This decline also reveals a worrying trend in the region. While some neighbors have made progress, the overall score for the Asia-Pacific region, including India, is also declining. This highlights the need for collective action to address the root causes of corruption in our neighborhood. The Corruption Perceptions Index is not just a set of numbers. It is a reflection of our collective failure to uphold ethical governance. It is a wake-up call, urging us to introspect and take decisive action. Corruption is not a victimless crime. It is an insidious force that preys on the most vulnerable, deepening existing inequalities and hindering development. Its impact on India's progress is undeniable. Imagine a nation where resources meant for building schools and hospitals are siphoned away into private pockets. Imagine a system where access to basic services like water and electricity is contingent on bribes. This is the grim reality for millions of Indians. Corruption acts as a drag on economic growth. It discourages investment, both domestic and foreign, as businesses become wary of operating in an environment rife with uncertainty and unfair practices. It also undermines the effectiveness of government programs and policies, as funds are diverted or mismanaged. The social costs are perhaps even more devastating. Corruption perpetuates poverty by denying the poor access to essential services and opportunities. It erodes trust in public institutions, leading to apathy and cynicism. In a society where corruption is normalized, it becomes increasingly difficult to break the cycle of poverty and inequality. India's struggle with corruption is not unique. Our neighbors in the South Asian region face similar challenges, albeit to varying degrees. A comparative glance reveals a complex landscape with shared concerns. While India's Corruption Perceptions Index ranking is better than Pakistan, Sri Lanka, and Bangladesh, it lags behind China. This mixed picture underscores the need for regional cooperation in tackling corruption. Sharing best practices, strengthening institutions, and fostering a culture of transparency across borders are crucial steps. The decline in the average Corruption Perceptions Index score for the Asia-Pacific region is a cause for collective concern. This trend highlights the need for a united front against corruption. Regional bodies like the South Asian Association for Regional Cooperation can play a vital role in promoting good governance and combating corruption. The fight against corruption cannot be confined within national borders. It requires a collaborative approach where nations learn from each other's experiences and work together to create a more transparent and accountable region. Section 5. The poisoned air we breathe. The consequences of corruption extend far beyond economic and social spheres. It poses a grave threat to our planet's health, undermining global efforts to combat climate change. Corruption hinders climate action in myriad ways. It allows polluters to buy their way out of environmental regulations. It diverts funds earmarked for renewable energy projects and sustainable development initiatives. It creates loopholes that enable illegal logging, mining, and other environmentally destructive practices. In a country like India, which is highly vulnerable to the impacts of climate change, such corruption is akin to playing with fire. Rising sea levels, extreme weather events, and water scarcity are already posing significant challenges. Corruption only exacerbates these risks by weakening our ability to adapt and mitigate. The fight against climate change demands transparency, accountability, and a commitment to the common good. Corruption undermines all three. It is a betrayal of future generations, jeopardizing their right to a healthy and habitable planet. Section 6. Beyond our borders, a shared struggle. Corruption is not just India's problem, it's a global epidemic. The 2024 CPI report reveals a disconcerting truth. The global average score remains stagnant at 43, with two-thirds of countries scoring below 50. This indicates that corruption is a deeply entrenched problem worldwide. It transcends borders, cultures, and political systems. From rigged elections and corporate lobbying to money laundering and illicit financial flows, corruption manifests in various forms, eroding trust and hindering progress on a global scale. The interconnected nature of the global economy means that corruption in one corner of the world can have ripple effects elsewhere. The fight against corruption requires international cooperation, information sharing, and a commitment to upholding ethical standards in all spheres of activity. Initiatives like the United Nations Convention Against Corruption provide a framework for collaborative action. However, more needs to be done to strengthen enforcement mechanisms, close legal loopholes, and foster a culture of intolerance towards corruption globally. Section 7. The illusion of progress. In recent years, the Indian government has initiated several anti-corruption measures. These include the establishment of specialized agencies, enactment of stricter laws, and digitization of various government services. While these efforts are commendable, they have yielded limited results. The continued decline in India's CPI score suggests that these measures have not been effective enough in curbing corruption. The gap between policy and implementation remains vast. Often, anti-corruption agencies are themselves plagued by political interference and lack of resources. Moreover, the focus on high-profile cases while neglecting petty corruption, which affects the daily lives of ordinary citizens, has created a sense of disillusionment. The perception that the corrupt go unpunished while the common man suffers persists. True progress in the fight against corruption requires a multi-pronged approach. It necessitates not just stricter laws and institutions, but also a fundamental shift in societal attitudes. We need to foster a culture where honesty is valued, integrity is celebrated, and corruption is simply unacceptable. Section 8. The price of inaction. The cost of inaction in the face of endemic corruption is simply too high. It is a price we pay every day in the form of diminished opportunities, eroded trust, and a collective sense of hopelessness. A corrupt system benefits a select few at the expense of the many. It creates a vicious cycle where power and wealth are concentrated in the hands of a privileged elite, while the majority struggle to make ends meet. This leads to social unrest, instability, and a breakdown of the social contract. Moreover, corruption undermines democracy by eroding faith in institutions and processes. When people believe that the system is rigged against them, they are less likely to participate in democratic processes. This creates a fertile ground for authoritarianism and the erosion of civil liberties. The time for complacency is long gone. We must recognize that corruption is not a fact of life in India, but a challenge that we can and must overcome. The future of our nation hinges on our collective will to create a more just and equitable society. Section 9. A call for sunlight towards a brighter dawn. The fight against corruption is a fight for the soul of India. It is a fight that demands unwavering commitment, collective action, and a refusal to accept the status quo. We, the people of India, must demand accountability from our leaders. We must hold them to the highest standards of integrity and transparency. We must reject those who seek to profit from positions of power and instead elect representatives who are committed to serving the public good. We must strengthen our institutions, ensuring their independence and effectiveness in investigating and prosecuting corruption cases. We must empower civil society organizations working on the front lines to expose corruption and advocate for systemic reforms. Most importantly, we must foster a culture of integrity from the ground up. We must teach our children the value of honesty, fairness, and ethical conduct. We must create a society where corruption is not just illegal, but also socially unacceptable. The path ahead will be long and arduous, but we must remember that every journey begins with a single step. Let us take that step together towards a brighter and more equitable future for India. Let us reclaim our nation from the clutches of corruption and build a society that truly reflects the hopes and aspirations of its people.